The day Earth's sensors picked up the massive fleet was just like any other at Space Command. The morning coffee hadn't even gotten cold when the alerts started flashing across every screen in the control room. "Multiple objects detected beyond Mars orbit," announced Jack, the lid sensor operator. His fingers flew across the holographic display as he tried to make sense of the readings. "Sir, these are big. Really big." Captain James Miller stood from his command chair, his weathered face reflecting the soft blue glow of the screens around him. 20 years of Earth Defense Force service hadn't prepared him for this moment. The objects were massive, each one larger than the biggest ships humanity had ever built. "How many?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. 37 major vessels, sir, and hundreds of smaller ones." Jack's voice trembled slightly. "They're just drifting." That last word caught Miller's attention. Drifting. Not advancing or maintaining formation. Just drifting through space like dead leaves in a pond. "Get me visual," Miller ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing telescopic images from their deep space array. The ships were unlike anything they'd seen before. Sleek crystalline structures that seemed to glow with an inner light. But that light was flickering, unstable. Linda, their radiation specialist, spoke up next. "Sir, I'm detecting massive radiation spikes from their power cores. The patterns suggest critical reactor failures across multiple vessels." Miller didn't hesitate. "Sound General Quarters. Get me a direct line to the World Space Council and prep our emergency response ships." He turned to his communications officer. "Try hailing them on all frequencies." Within hours, Earth's response was in full swing. The World Space Council had authorized an emergency mission, and Miller found himself aboard the EDF Rescue One, leading a fleet of 5 human ships toward the mysterious alien vessels. As they got closer, the true scale of the situation became clear. The alien ships were massive cities in space, their crystalline hulls now clouded and dark in places. Emergency lights pulsed weakly through their transparent sections, revealing glimpses of movement inside. "Life signs confirmed," reported Dr. Brown, their xenobiologist. "Millions of them, and their life support systems are failing." Miller watched through the main viewport as they approached the largest vessel. Its surface was etched with strange, flowing patterns that seemed to shift in the starlight. But what caught his attention were the obvious signs of damage. Sections of the crystal hull were cracked, and the normally seamless surface was marred by dark patches. "Their power systems are almost completely drained," Linda reported from her station. "Based on these readings, they're running on emergency power only. Maybe a few days left at most." The first attempt at communication came unexpectedly. A burst of light pulsed from the alien flagship, forming complex patterns that repeated over and over. "It's mathematical," said Tom, their engineer who had been studying the display. "Look at the sequences. They're showing us prime numbers, then simple equations. They're trying to establish a basic language." Miller ordered their ships to respond with similar light patterns, adding Earth's own mathematical sequences to show understanding. The exchange continued for hours, growing more complex until they managed to establish basic concepts. The story that emerged was dire. The alien fleet, carrying refugees from a dying star system, had encountered an unknown spatial anomaly during their journey. The passage through it had damaged their unique crystal-based technology, leaving them stranded and slowly dying in space. "Sir," Jack called out, his voice urgent. "One of the smaller ships just lost power completely. Life support is failing." Miller straightened in his chair. This was the moment that would define humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. "Launch rescue shuttles. Get emergency power units attached to that ship, and send word to Earth. We need every available ship and resource out here now." As the rescue operations began, Miller watched his crews spring into action. Humans, barely a spacefaring civilization themselves, preparing to save a far more advanced species using technology that might seem primitive to the aliens, But sometimes, he thought, the simple solutions were the best ones. The operation to save millions of alien lives had begun, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what they were capable of when others needed help. The next 48 hours on the EDF Rescue One were the most intense anyone had experienced. Earth's best minds worked nonstop, trying to build a bridge between two completely different species. Dr. Anna White hadn't slept in 30 hours. She stared at the streams of light patterns coming from the alien flagship, her eyes red from exhaustion. As Earth's top language expert, she knew this was the challenge of a lifetime. "They keep sending the same sequence," she muttered, pointing to a repeating pattern on her screen. "But it's not just math anymore. There's something else hidden in it." The alien ships continued to drift, their crystal hulls growing dimmer by the hour. Emergency power units from Earth's ships had stabilized the most critical vessels, but it was a temporary fix. Without proper communication, saving the entire fleet would be impossible. Tom, the engineer who had first recognized the mathematical patterns, joined Anna at her station. "Look at how the light pulses change," he said, pointing to a subtle variation in the signal. "It's almost like music." This observation sparked an idea. Anna quickly pulled up Earth's own transmission records. "We've been trying to talk to them with just light patterns, but what if we add sound?" They modified their transmission array to include simple sound waves along with the light patterns. The response was immediate. The alien flagship lit up with new energy, and a strange harmonic tone filled the command center. "That's it," Anna exclaimed. "They communicate through both light and sound together. Their language is multidimensional." Captain Miller watched as his crew rushed to adapt their communication systems. This was humanity at its best, flexible, creative, ready to try new approaches when the old ones failed. The breakthrough came when they transmitted the basic atomic structure of hydrogen, using both light and sound. The aliens responded with their own version, then began sending more complex chemical formulas. "They're showing us how their ships work," Tom said, excitement clear in his voice. "These patterns, they're describing their crystal technology." The alien commander, who they came to know as First Speaker, finally established direct communication through a hybrid system of light, sound, and simple images. The story they shared was both fascinating and tragic. They were refugees from a system whose star had begun to die centuries too early. Their entire civilization had packed what they could into these great ships, hoping to find a new home. But the mysterious anomaly they encountered had damaged their crystal cores, the heart of their technology. "Your power, different." First Speaker's translated message came through. Simple, but strong. "How?" Tom explained Earth's nuclear power systems using diagrams and basic physics equations. The aliens seemed amazed by what they called primitive but effective technology. "Never thought simple atoms could save us." First Speaker's message continued. "Your people, surprising." As the hours passed, the communication system grew more sophisticated. The aliens shared their star charts, showing where they had come from and where they had hoped to go. In return, Earth provided data about nearby systems that might support their kind of life. But time was running out. Despite the emergency-powered units, more ships were showing signs of critical failure. They needed to find a way to adapt Earth's technology to work with the alien crystals permanently. First Speaker, Miller transmitted, "We need to understand how your power crystals work. Can you show us?" The response came in a complex series of light patterns and harmonics. Tom and his engineering team worked frantically to decode the technical information, while Anna and her linguists refined their translation systems. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," Tom reported. "Their crystals don't just store power, they amplify it. But the fundamental principles, we might be able to work with this." As the second day drew to a close, Miller looked out at the massive alien fleet. They had achieved more in 48 hours than many thought possible, but the real challenge was just beginning. They had learned to talk, now they needed to act. The alien ships glowed weakly in the darkness of space, like dying stars waiting to be reignited. But now, at least, there was hope. Two civilizations, separated by vast differences in technology and culture, had found a way to understand each other. And somewhere in that understanding lay the key to saving millions of lives. Tom stood in the makeshift laboratory aboard EDF Rescue 1, holding one of the alien power crystals up to the light. It was smaller than his palm but felt strangely warm. The crystal pulsed with a faint blue glow that seemed to follow his movements. "Incredible," he muttered, placing it carefully into the testing chamber. "Even nearly drained, it's still more powerful than our best batteries." Around him, the engineering bay had transformed into a maze of equipment. Earth's best technical minds had arrived over the last 24 hours, bringing every kind of testing device they could think of. The air hummed with the sound of machines working overtime. "Any progress?" Captain Miller asked, entering the lab. Dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept much either. Tom pointed to the readings on his screen. "These crystals aren't just power sources, sir. They're alive, or at least they respond to life. Watch this." He placed his hand near the crystal. The blue glow brightened slightly, and the energy readings spiked. "The aliens don't just use these crystals," Tom explained. "They work with them. It's a partnership. That's why our regular power systems aren't completely compatible." Miller frowned. "Can we adapt our technology to work with them?" Before Tom could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Linda's voice came over the intercom. "Power failure in Alien Ship 7. Their life support is dropping fast." "How many people on that ship?" Miller demanded. 8,000, came the response. Tom looked at the crystal, then at his experimental setup. "Captain, I have an idea. But it's never been tested. We'd be risking one of our own reactors." "Explain." Tom pointed to a series of diagrams on his screen. "Their crystals amplify energy, right? If we hook up one of our nuclear reactors to their crystal system, we might be able to power their whole ship. But if we get the connection wrong, we could cause a meltdown," Miller finished. "How sure are you about this?" Tom met his captain's eyes. "About 60%. But those 8,000 people have maybe 30 minutes left." Miller didn't hesitate. "Do it. I'll take responsibility." The next 20 minutes were a blur of activity. Tom and his team rushed to modify one of their backup reactors, while EVA teams prepared to connect it to the failing alien ship. First Speaker had transmitted detailed crystal interface diagrams, which Tom studied as he worked. "The trick isn't just connecting the power," Tom explained to his team as they worked. "We need to match the frequency. The crystals only accept energy that resonates with them." They positioned the modified reactor next to the alien ship's main crystal chamber. Tom's hands were steady as he made the final adjustments, even though he knew one wrong move could spell disaster. "Connection ready," he reported. "Starting power transfer in 3, 2, 1. Everyone held their breath as energy began flowing from the human reactor into the alien crystals. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the crystals began to brighten. The alien ship's lights flickered, then stabilized. "It's working." Linda's voice came through, filled with excitement. "Life support is coming back online." But they weren't done yet. As the power transfer continued, the crystals began to change color, shifting from blue to a bright white. "Energy output at 200% of normal," someone reported. 300%. 400. "The crystals are amplifying our power far more than we expected," Tom said, watching the readings in amazement. "They're not just accepting our energy. They're working with it, making it better." First Speaker's message came through. "Your power, our crystals. Perfect match. How did you know?" Tom smiled as he watched the alien ship systems return to full strength. "We didn't know," he transmitted back. "We just tried something new and hoped it would work. Sometimes that's all you can do." The success with Ship 7 proved to be the breakthrough they needed. Now they had a template for saving the rest of the fleet. Tom's team began modifying more reactors while teaching other engineers the procedure. "You know what this means," Tom said to Miller as they watched the alien ship's crystal heart pulse with renewed energy. "Once we save them, this technology could change everything." Human and alien engineering working together. Miller nodded. "First, let's focus on saving everyone. Then we can think about the future." As if in response, the crystal chamber of Ship 7 lit up the space around them, casting a brilliant white glow that seemed to promise hope for both species. Space around Earth had never been so busy. Ships of all sizes rushed back and forth between the planet and the stranded alien fleet. The International Space Station, once a symbol of human space exploration, had transformed into an emergency command center. Another reactor ready for transport called out the launch controller from Houston. On the massive display screen, a heavy-lift rocket climbed through the atmosphere, carrying vital equipment to save more alien ships. The world had come together like never before. Russian heavy rockets launched American reactors. Chinese space stations stored Japanese power cells. Indian engineers worked alongside Brazilian scientists. Every spacefaring nation had joined the effort. "Status update," Captain Miller requested, watching from the bridge of EDF Rescue 1. The response came from Mission Control, where operators tracked every rescue operation. 17 alien ships stabilized, the controller reported. 20 more to go. "But sir, 3 ships are showing critical readings. They won't last another 6 hours." Miller turned to Tom, who hadn't left his post for more than a few hours' sleep in the past 3 days. "Can we speed this up?" Tom pointed to a new diagram on his screen. "Maybe." The aliens showed us something interesting about their crystal network. The ships can share power between themselves, like a giant circuit. If we power up one of the bigger ships enough, it could help support the failing ones, Miller finished. "Why didn't we try this before?" "Because if we get it wrong, we could drain power from the staple ships instead. It's risky." A message flashed from first speaker. "We trust your judgment. Save our people." Miller made his decision. "Do it. I'll inform Earth." The next few hours were intense. Space tugs pulled the 3 failing ships closer to one of the largest vessels they had already stabilized. Engineers in spacesuits floated between the ships, connecting massive power cables that looked tiny against the enormous crystal hulls. Inside the alien ships, the situation was getting desperate. Through the crystal-clear sections of hull, they could see aliens moving in emergency suits, trying to keep their people calm. Some had already evacuated to the more stable ships, but thousands remained. "Power linkage complete," Tom reported. "Starting the transfer. Now." Everyone watched as energy flowed through the makeshift network. The large ship's crystals pulsed brighter, sending streams of power through the connecting cables. Slowly, the failing ships began to stabilize. "It's working," Linda shouted from her station, life support rising in all 3 ships. But they weren't done yet. Even as they celebrated this success, more challenges arose. A small alien ship at the edge of the fleet suddenly lost all power, its crystals going dark. "Launch rescue shuttles," Miller ordered. "Get those people out of there." Earth's ships, designed for space rescue, proved their worth. Pilots maneuvered through the tight spaces between alien vessels, matching speeds with the dying ship. Space-suited rescue teams cut through hull sections to reach the aliens trapped inside. Hour after hour, the operation continued. Each success gave them more experience, more confidence. Earth's space stations filled with alien refugees, creating strange but touching scenes as humans and aliens worked together to save lives. "Look at this," Tom said quietly to Miller, showing him a video feed from one of the stations. A human child was sharing their lunch with a young alien, neither seeming to care about their differences. First speaker's next message carried a tone of wonder. "Your people work together so well. Different nations, different beliefs, but united in helping us." Miller smiled as he watched another reactor being installed. "That's humanity at its best. We may fight among ourselves, But when others need help, we come together. By the end of the fourth day, they had stabilized most of the fleet. The few remaining ships were in good condition, waiting their turn for the power upgrade. What had seemed impossible just days ago was becoming reality. "Captain," Tom called out, excitement in his voice. "The aliens want to show us something. They say it's a thank you gift." As Miller watched, the crystal hulls of the saved ships began to glow in perfect harmony, creating a spectacular light show against the backdrop of space. It was beautiful, a symbol of two civilizations working together to overcome impossible odds. The race wasn't over yet, but humanity had proved itself when it mattered most. The observation deck of the International Space Station had become an unlikely meeting place for two civilizations. Through its large windows, both Earth and the alien fleet were visible, creating a perfect backdrop for the historic conversations taking place inside. First speakers stood near the window, their crystalline suit catching the light from Earth's atmosphere. The alien leader was speaking with Captain Miller and a group of Earth's representatives, using the new translation system that combined light, sound, and basic holographic images. "Your world. So much water," first speaker communicated, their suit pulsing with gentle colors as they spoke. "Our home was mostly desert. Crystals grew naturally there." Miller watched as the alien created a holographic image of their home system. 3 suns circled each other, while 12 planets orbited around them. "What happened to your star system?" he asked. The hologram changed, showing one of the suns swelling, becoming unstable. "Started too soon," first speaker explained. "Should have had thousands more years. Had to leave quickly. Many crystals left behind." Tom entered the observation deck, carrying one of the modified power crystals. Over the past few days, he had been working closely with the alien engineers, learning about their technology. The aliens gathered around him, their suits glowing with interest. "Your solution? Unexpected," one of the alien engineers communicated. "Using simple atoms to power crystals. We never thought of this. Too focused on crystal growth." Tom placed the crystal in a testing chamber. "That's the funny thing about humans," he said. "Sometimes being less advanced helps us think differently. We have to find creative solutions." The aliens watched as Tom demonstrated how they had modified Earth's nuclear power to work with their crystal technology. Their suits pulsed with colors that the translation system identified as showing surprise and admiration. "You adapt so quickly," first speaker noted. "Your species is young, but learns fast. Most young species we knew about, they fear different things. You get excited about them." Around the station, similar scenes were playing out. In the medical bay, human doctors and alien healers shared knowledge about their different biologies. In the engineering section, teams worked together to improve the power transfer systems. Even in the station's small garden, aliens learned about Earth plants, while sharing information about their own agricultural methods. "Tell us about your culture," a human anthropologist asked first speaker. "How do your people live?" The answer came in a beautiful display of light and sound. The aliens shared stories of cities built from living crystals, of art created with light and harmony, of histories recorded in the complex patterns of their crystal matrices. "But what interests us most," first speaker communicated, "is your variety. So many different ways of living on one world. So many different ideas. How do you manage it?" Miller smiled. "Not always perfectly. But we've learned that our differences make us stronger. Different viewpoints help us solve problems better." The aliens shared their own technology freely, teaching humans about crystal computing that was faster than any silicon chip, about energy storage that could power cities for years, about navigation systems that could plot courses through space more accurately than anything Earth had developed. But they were most impressed by human music. When someone played a simple violin in the station's common area, the alien suits lit up with patterns of pure joy. "Sound and light together," first speaker exclaimed. "Like our language, but different. Beautiful." A young alien approached the violin player, their suit creating harmonies that matched the music. Soon, the station was filled with an otherworldly concert as both species made music together. "You know," Tom said to Miller as they watched the impromptu performance, "when we first saw their fleet, everyone was afraid. Now look at us, making music with beings from another star." First speaker joined them, their suit glowing softly. "Perhaps this is why your people could save us. You don't just solve problems. You build bridges, make connections, turn strangers into friends." As Earth turned slowly below them, humans and aliens continued to learn from each other, proving that despite their differences, understanding and friendship could bloom even in the darkest of circumstances. The rescue mission had become something more, the beginning of a partnership that would change both civilizations forever. The warning came without notice. Alarms blared across every human and alien ship in the fleet. The largest alien vessel, carrying over 50,000 refugees, was breaking apart. Multiple hull breaches detected. Linda's voice cut through the chaos on EDF Rescue 1. "The crystal structure is failing. Sir, the whole ship is coming apart." Captain Miller raced to the bridge, where emergency signals lit up every screen. Through the main viewport, he could see huge cracks spreading across the massive ship's crystal hull, glowing an angry red. "What happened?" he demanded. Tom's voice came through the comm system as he analyzed the data. "The power transfer we did earlier, it worked too well. The crystal matrix absorbed more energy than it could handle. It's literally growing itself apart." First speaker's message flashed with urgent pulses. "Cannot stop growth. Crystal matrix destabilized. Need immediate evacuation." Miller didn't hesitate. "All rescue ships, launch immediately. Priority 1 evacuation." "Tom, can we cut power to slow the breakdown?" "Negative," Tom replied. "The crystal growth is self-sustaining now. We have maybe 30 minutes before total structural failure." The space around the failing ship turned into a scene of organized chaos. Earth's rescue shuttles, designed for much smaller emergencies, darted between the widening cracks in the crystal hull. Space-suited humans and aliens worked side by side, guiding refugees to safety. "Section 3 is completely blocked off," came a report from one rescue team. "The crystal growth has sealed the corridors." Miller suited up himself, heading for a rescue shuttle. "Tom, get me away through those crystals. There are 10,000 people trapped in that section." Inside his suit, Miller heard Tom's quick thinking. "The crystals respond to energy, right? If we reverse the power flow, maybe we can make them contract instead of grow." "Do it," Miller ordered as his shuttle approached the blocked section. "But be careful. We don't want to make things worse." Through the shuttle's windows, Miller could see the spectacular but terrifying sight of crystal formations growing and shifting like living things. Some were beautiful, creating rainbow-like effects in space, but they were also tearing the ship apart. Tom's plan worked, partially. When they reversed the power flow, some crystal formations shrank enough to create paths, but others grew faster, as if fighting back. "We need more shuttles." Miller called as his team guided a group of alien refugees to safety. The aliens moved quickly despite their fear, helping each other and even carrying those who couldn't move fast enough. A massive crack suddenly appeared above them, crystal shards the size of buses breaking off into space. Miller watched in horror as one rescue shuttle had to dodge the deadly projectiles. 10 minutes to total structural failure, Linda reported, her voice tense. First speaker had joined the rescue efforts, their knowledge of crystal technology proving invaluable. This way, their light patterns guided another group through a maze of shifting crystal growths, following old maintenance tunnels. The minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness. Every rescue ship was packed beyond capacity. The International Space Station and Earth's orbital platforms were receiving refugees as fast as they could process them. With 5 minutes left, they hit another crisis. A family of aliens was trapped behind a wall of rapidly growing crystals. Miller and his team could see them through the crystalline barrier, but couldn't reach them. "Stand back." Tom's voice came through as he arrived with a modified powered unit. "If we can't go through it, we'll go around it." He placed the unit against the crystal wall, sending carefully controlled energy pulses that made the crystals grow in a new direction, creating a tunnel. The family was saved just as another warning sounded. "1 minute," Linda called out. "Everyone needs to clear the area now." The evacuation ships pulled back to a safe distance. Everyone watched as the massive alien vessel, once a marvel of crystal engineering, broke apart in a spectacular display of light and color. The crystal fragments scattered across space like a million stars. "Status report," Miller called out once the debris field stabilized. The response brought relief to everyone. All 50,000 refugees had been evacuated. It had been close, too close, but they had done it. First speaker's message carried both sadness and gratitude. "Ship was home to many, but people are safe because of you." As the rescue ships headed back to Earth's orbital stations, the scattered crystal fragments continued to glow in space, a reminder of how close they had come to disaster and how working together had saved so many lives. 1 month after the Great Rescue, Earth looked different from space. The alien fleet, now fully repaired, hung in orbit alongside human stations. Their crystal ships glowed with steady bright light, a sign of their restored power and new hybrid technology. Captain Miller stood in the newly built Crystal Hall, a massive meeting room on the International Space Station. Its walls, made from a combination of human materials and alien crystals, shifted colors gently as sunlight passed through them. "The last refugee ship has been stabilized," Tom reported, showing the final status on his tablet. "The new power systems are working better than we ever expected." First speaker's form created beautiful patterns of light as they addressed the gathered human and alien leaders. "What seemed like our darkest hour became our brightest moment. Together, we have created something new." The room's main display showed images from around Earth and its orbit. Alien crystal technology was being carefully integrated into human cities, providing clean power and new ways of computing. Human engineering methods had given the aliens new perspectives on using their crystal technology. "We have prepared our proposal," first speaker continued, their translation coming through crystal clear. "We wish to establish permanent diplomatic relations with Earth, and we offer to help you establish your first colonies beyond your solar system." The human representatives murmured with excitement. On the display, a star map appeared, showing several promising systems within reach using the new hybrid drive technology they had developed together. "Your nuclear power, combined with our crystal matrices," an alien engineer explained, "makes faster-than-light travel possible. What would have taken us centuries now takes months." Miller watched as Tom demonstrated their latest project, a small crystal reactor powered by human technology. It produced more energy than anything Earth had ever built, while remaining completely safe and clean. "But more important than the technology," first speaker said, "is what we have learned from each other. Your creativity, your way of trying new ideas. It has changed how we think. And perhaps our experience has helped you see the value of working together." The scene outside the Crystal Hall's windows proved their point. Human and alien ships moved through space together, their crews working as one. On Earth below, crystal spires rose alongside human buildings, creating new architecture that combined the best of both worlds. "There is something else we wish to share," first speaker announced. The room's crystals hummed with a new tone as a holographic image appeared. It showed a galaxy-wide network of civilizations, the Galactic Council. "Until now, we thought your species too young to join. But you have proven us wrong. We would be honored to recommend Earth for membership." The human leaders responded with enthusiasm, but Miller noticed something interesting. The aliens' light patterns showed they were actually nervous, not about Earth's response, but about whether humans would accept their traditional way of doing things. Tom spoke up, showing why humanity had earned this chance. "Maybe we could try something new. Instead of Earth just joining your existing system, We could work together to create better ways of cooperation, just like we did with the crystal power systems. First speaker's lights pulsed with what the humans had learned to recognize as joy. This is exactly why we need you, always thinking of new possibilities. The meeting concluded with plans for the future. Joint research teams would explore the hybrid technologies they created. Cultural exchange programs would help both species learn from each other. And soon, the first human-alien joint colony would be established in a nearby star system. As the delegates left the Crystal Hall, Miller stayed behind with Tom and first speaker, looking out at Earth. "Did you ever think," Miller asked, "when we first saw your fleet drifting in space, that it would lead to all this?" First speaker's response created a beautiful pattern of light that reflected off the crystal walls. "Sometimes the best things come from the hardest times. Your people taught us that." Tom pointed to a new ship under construction nearby, the first vessel to be built using both human and alien technology from the start. "This isn't just an alliance," he said. "It's a whole new beginning." As Earth turned below them, its surface now glittering with crystal cities alongside human ones, the stars seemed closer than ever before. Humanity had not only helped save another species, they had helped create a future brighter than either civilization had imagined alone. The rescue mission was over, but the real adventure was just beginning.